Galaxy Unpacked is only a couple of weeks away, and if you follow Samsung, you've probably seen that the closer we get to Unpacked, the more and more leaks that seem to come out about these sort of phones and what we expect to see at that event. So much is leaked now about that Note 20 and that Note 20 Plus, so I thought it's probably about time to have a little look at what we expect to see at the Galaxy Unpacked event in a few weeks' time. Samsung Unpacked is that first event of phone season and opens the door for everybody else. So we'll have a look at the Note 20 Ultra and the regular Note 20 as well. So we'll talk about that Note 20 Ultra first. So if you just want to know about the Note 20, then I'll put the timestamp below just here and you can go and jump straight to that part of the video. The Note 20 Ultra has some really good specs and we'll go through a couple of them here, but let's just start straight away with that screen size. So we expect this Ultra to have a 6.9-inch screen, which is massive. And that resolution of 3200 by 1440 is going to make sure that you still have that QHD display. And the screen is really similar actually to the S20 Ultra that was released back earlier in the year. But the thing that will change a little bit this time round is that display, that panel is going to be flat. It's not going to be curved like it is on the S20 Ultra. So it's really easy to tell and distinguish the two phones from one another. The refresh rate on this phone is expected to be 120 Hz as well, but only 120 Hz. And even more interestingly, Samsung are going to introduce something this year called LTPO. LTPO just stands for low temperature polycrystalline oxide, and what that means to me and you really is that it's actually be able to choose its refresh rate itself, so something really similar to what the Apple Watch can do. The Note 20 Ultra will be able to change its refresh rate from 1 Hz all the way up to 120 Hz depending on what's being shown on the screen. So if you're just looking at a picture and that is it, it will jump to 1 Hz. If you're gaming then and the game supports that 120 Hz, it will jump up to the 120 Hz. And this is actually really good news for one main reason, because 120 Hz consistently will absolutely throttle a battery, so you might not even be able to get a whole day's usage out of it. But with that LTPO and that variable refresh rate screen, if Samsung and the phone is able to just change its refresh rate on what it needs at that time, it means that the battery on this could last forever. And the rumors are that this battery could be a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and that battery put alongside this variable refresh rate could mean that it's got some serious battery life. I always then get really excited by the new colors that people bring out with these phones, and this year with the Note 20 Ultra, I'm not that excited because the main new color is this new copper color. And listen, I don't like the color of this copper color. Like, I want phones to start going with pastel colors and something like that just to look really nice. And you know what, if this is your color and this is what you're gonna get, then that's fine. Like, it'll obviously notably stand out as the Note 20, but I'm just not that keen on this. When we go to the back of the phone and we start talking about the cameras, now the cameras on paper sound brilliant, especially if you're a big fan of like megapixel numbers, because that main camera sensor is going to have 108 megapixels. It'll be joined by a 13 megapixel telephoto lens and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens as well. And this year Samsung are adding something a little bit extra to the cameras. If you remember from the S20 Ultra, Samsung went massive on this 100 times zoom, and on adverts it looked really good, but in reality it was pretty poor. All the images really were quite blurry when you zoomed in that far. But this year what Samsung are going to do, which will hopefully help them, is they're going to add some laser autofocus, which again at the moment sounds good, but we'll have to see when we get our hands on the Note 20 Ultra. We should probably talk really quickly as well about what is in these phones in terms of processors. And the S20 Ultra is going to come with that Snapdragon 865 Plus if you're anywhere but Europe. But if you're in Europe, you're still going to be getting that Exynos 990. And alongside that processor, you're going to be getting 12 gigabytes of RAM, which sounds incredible, and 256 gigabytes of storage, with the option of actually expanding that with a micro SD up to 1 terabyte, which sounds insane. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, then a sub to the channel would be amazing. Okay, so let's talk and move over to the regular Note 20. From having a look at all these leaks and reading the leaks over the past couple of weeks, it seems that the regular Note 20 is not the most exciting phone that Samsung will ever release. It almost seems like it's an S version of that Note 10 from last year. But let's have a look what we're going to expect from this anyway. And there's one big downside of the Note 20 compared to the Note 20 Ultra, and that is that screen. It's going to have a 6.7-inch AMOLED display, but the max resolution on this display is going to be only 1080p. And I think that is a little bit disappointing, especially if you've been holding out for this Note 20. But I think that 6.7-inch screen is actually the perfect size. I think 6.9-inch on the S20 Ultra is too big, and I think the 6.7-inch is genuinely like the perfect size for a phone. But the disappointment with the screen doesn't just stop at it being 1080p. The extra bit of disappointment also is that this phone is only going to have 60 Hz refresh rate. It's not going to have 90, it's not going to have 120, it's just going to be stuck at 60 Hz. And I think there's a couple of ways to look at that 60 Hz display. So you can look at it and be disappointed that you don't get anything above 60 Hz, but then also you could look at it and on the plus side, you put that 60 Hz display with that 4,300 milliamp hour battery that the Note 20 is expected to have. And this is something that could last you more than an entire day. And we'll talk about what's in the phone as well. So this drops down from that 12 gigabytes of RAM and only gives you 8 gigabytes. But I think even at this point, 8 gigabytes of RAM is more than what most people need. The Note 20 also comes with 256 gigabytes of storage, but there is no expandable storage, so you can't put an SD card into this to take your phone up to 1 terabyte. And I think that's really disappointing, but you can kind of see why Samsung have done it, because they want to push more people to go and get that ultra high-end spec phone rather than the Note 20 itself. In terms of what's in the phone and processor-wise and keeping this running, it has the exact same stuff as what's inside that Note 20 Ultra. That's a Snapdragon 865 Plus and the Exynos 990, and it's almost certainly will come with 5G as well. When you flip that phone over, it looks pretty similar to what the Note 20 Ultra does, except the back panel on this phone is not going to be glass, it's going to go with plastic. But even though it has plastic, wireless charging is still on, it's still a thing, and you can still do it. The cameras as well look really similar to the Note 20 Ultra, but on the surface of it, they are, but when you dive into it a little bit more, they're not exactly the same. The main camera on this is only 12 megapixels, and it has then a 12 megapixel ultra wide as well, but the telephoto lens is 64 megapixels. And the main lens does drop from 108, which you see on the Ultra, but honestly, like, megapixels are not everything, especially on a phone. And one of the things that might be happening as well at Galaxy Unpacked is that Samsung and Xbox might be teaming up for xCloud. And this was teased on Twitter by Samsung themselves for Unpacked, and it's that Note teardrop that usually comes falling down that we know of that then expands into a controller which looks exactly like an Xbox controller, which I presume you can then connect to your new Galaxy Note 20. You know what, that is going to be pretty cool, and it'll be really similar to what Game Pass is for Xbox at the moment, and that gives you almost like 100 games. So if you can do that on your phone, then this is going to be good. Oh, and the only thing left to say about these Note 20s is that there's no headphone jack. There will never be a headphone jack ever again on a flagship phone. I'm sorry, but you just need to understand. Headphone jack is gone. So what do you think about what Samsung are going to show us at Unpacked? Do you think there is a good little lineup of what they're going to do? Of course, we've still got the flip phones that are going to come out as well, and we'll probably see them at Unpacked. So let me know in the comments what you think of the Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. Give this video a thumbs up as well if you liked it, and a sub to the channel would be amazing. And until next time, see you later.